There are only two states, Texas and California, that have more presidentially declared disasters than the state of Oklahoma since they started counting, and this is going back to 1953. So we have the entire gamut here in this state, whether it's a flood or an ice storm, whether it's a tornado, or of course the earthquakes that we have that could be declared. There's everything there. The issue is exactly how we deal with each one of those situations, and our biggest challenge now is trying to make sure that we get the individuals in this state as prepared as possible and get the information that they can make the right decisions for themselves and their family. So actually we are called into service fewer times, that there is more preparedness out there on the front end, because we cannot stop the natural disasters that happen in this state, but what we can do is try to lessen the effects. When people ask me how prepared is Oklahoma for disaster, the truth of the matter is that we're only as prepared as the individual. People ask me that a lot for my position, and I say, always come back with the same answer: how prepared are you? Because if I'm your preparedness plan, that the state is going to come in and take care of you and your family after a tornado takes out your house or a flood waters rise in your house, you have a pretty lousy plan. You know, the Oklahoma City bombing, I think, probably changed me more than anything in my entire career, for the mere fact that my family was a victim on a personal basis. My wife lost her sister in the bombing. I spent a great deal of time at the site, practically 3 months down there, working the situation from an emergency management standpoint, just providing resources and that type of thing, and working the recovery. But I think the biggest thing that I got out of the bombing is the idea that we need to always remain compassionate to those who have lost so much. It's very easy in any business to kind of follow your training and kind of follow your knowledge, to dot the I's, cross the T's, move forward and do what you know how to do, which is the easy part. The hard part is taking the step back and realizing that, you know, this might be a good day at work for you, but it might be the worst day that that family in front of you has ever experienced. And you need to make sure you back up and realize that and have the compassion necessary to provide the service that we're supposed to provide. Human element in any disaster is extremely important. What makes me right for this job? I think every person, of course, has their attributes and their flaws, and I have plenty of flaws, don't get me wrong. I think one of the things that I do well, though, is that when a situation arises that there's controversy or an adversarial relationship, I usually look at myself first and make sure that I'm making the right argument. I don't immediately attack my opponent or talk about what is deserved or not deserved. Our job here is to administer the law to the best of our ability and make sure that individuals and communities get the assistance that they deserve and is provided by the law following any kind of disaster. I constantly think about roads and bridges, and I know we do a good job, the Department of Transportation does, on doing the best they can to keep up the roads and bridges, but that's really, when you talk about any type of hazard, the mobility of our citizens to move to safety, to move out of harm's way, and whether that infrastructure is up and basically available for them to utilize is really one of the main keys that we have to think about, especially with the earthquakes that have been happening. We've never had problems with the bridges, but what about if we have a 6.0 earthquake? What do we have greater? What if our message is not for people to evacuate, but to stay where they are because we're not sure they're not going to be in more danger if they try to leave their home? These are the things that concern me, things that keep me up at night, and what we currently are working on to try to get the best message out there. Because when it really comes down to it, I think the information that the governor gives, the information that officials give immediately following a disaster, is our best ammunition to mitigate the effects of that disaster. When people know what their options are, where to go, what to do, and they can make the right decisions for themselves and their family, then there's a sense of calmness that helps them out and gets them through the situation. When it comes to emergency management and on a personal level, I always tell my wife, I say, I look forward to the day after retirement when I can go to my front window in my robe and have a cup of coffee and say, boy, that looks like a pretty snow.